This is the Barbecue Central Radio Show, recorded January 17th, 2012. Big Moe Cason and Meathead join the show. The Barbecue Central Radio Show is being brought to you by the Barbecue Guru, the original creators of automatic temperature control devices, now offering 4 different models for you to choose from. Rest easy knowing that the Barbecue Guru is controlling your pit temperature so you can get on with your life. Visit bbqguru.com or call 800-288-GURU for more information. And by Fred's Music and Tasty Licks BBQ Supply, your online barbecue and grilling superstore. From cookers to grills, wood chips and chunks, and everything in between. Also be sure to try the Tasty Licks barbecue brand of rubs and sauces. Check Fred out online at tastylicksbbq.com. And by Stephen DeFranco Jewelers. Located in beautiful Willoughby, Ohio, Stephen DeFranco Jewelers is a family-owned and operated business looking to service the great folks of the barbecue and grilling world. Get free shipping and big discounts by mentioning my name and the term Barbecue Brother. Check out their inventory by visiting StephenDeFranco.com. And by Butcher Barbecue, with 30 years of experience in retail, wholesale, meat markets, food service, and customer service. Using that experience, everything they do and sell at Butcher's Barbecue comes from real-world knowledge. Check out their award-winning spices, sauces, marinades, and injections by visiting ButcherBBQ.com. Always trust your butcher. And by Draper's Barbecue, a third-generation barbecue company located in western Kentucky between Memphis and Kansas City. Their line of products represents both cities as well as the flavor profiles of Shane's home. Pick up their smokin' sauce and AP rub today by visiting DrapersBBQ.com. And by Barbecuer's Delight Wood Pellets, making pellets since 1994, 2/3 oak, 1/3 flavor wood, giving you that sweet, succulent smoke that you're looking for on your meat, both for grills and bullet-style smokers, and of course, in larger quantities for your pellet-fed smokers. Find them at bbqrsdelight.com.
This is Huck Jr., the host of In the Hut, and you're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Network. All barbecue and grilling, all the time.
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Welcome to the Barbecue Central Show, the show where we talk about all things that are important in the world of barbecue. From big-name interviews with competitors on the barbecue circuit, grill manufacturers and pit makers, to advice on cooking brisket and ribs. You'll find it all right here on the Barbecue Central Show. Your host, Greg Rempe, is a backyard barbecue and grilling fanatic and loves to talk about his passion, which many of us share together. You can learn more about barbecue and grilling by visiting the website, thebbqcentral.com. Now, let's get in the smoke. Here's your program host, Greg Rempe.
Hey gang, welcome to another edition of the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. We are broadcasting live and direct from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, rapidly becoming known as the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on this Tuesday. We like to do it each and every time at this week. It's an outdoor live fire cooking and grilling show. If it has anything to do with fire and flame and smoke, meat, whatever the case may be, you're going to find it in this form or fashion of a thing that we call a show here. You can find it on a number of different locations. We have a syndication network rapidly growing. You can find it on the mothership, which is the bbqcentralshow.com. You can also find the first hour, as you would normally find in the very first station that ever picked us up, latalkradio.com. And you can get the video and audio feed as well on outdoorcookingchannel.com. Outdoor Cooking Channel, of course, is where the chat room is as well, so you can get in tune and join in the conversation with a bunch of other Centralites as it pertains to the show. Of course, forewarning. Sometimes things are going on in the chat room that have nothing to do with what's happening on the live show. So be wary, be warned. Know that I am not reading post for post and word for word exactly what's happening on there. I could easily get lost, and then the whole show is right down the pooper. We don't want to do that. Now, if you want to get in touch with the show, you want to take part, you want to give something positive to the show, I invite you to do that. You can call in toll free at 877-448-0433. You can also email the show at any point if you want to do that. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Those are the two ways to get in touch with the show. Make use of it if you want to. 877-448-0433 or Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. All right, here's what's happening on the show tonight. Coming up in about 12 minutes from now, a first-timer to the show, somebody who I have been chasing for the better, usually it's weeks, but this guy has been months. It's Big Moe Cason from Ponderosa BBQ. He is a TV darling. He is a guy out there on the competition circuit, big in stature, big in personality, somebody who I think is going to translate very well here on the show, and that's why I've been chasing him for so long. It finally came to fruition. We're able to put it together. Mo was at the KCBS banquet this past weekend, so we'll get some thoughts about that, some general competition stuff, and then we'll probably carry him over for another segment, and we'll just get some general thoughts on some hot-button topics that have been making its way around the internets, and just from other pitmasters that I talked to, some things that kind of reoccur as they pertain to the world of competition barbecue and just barbecue and grilling in general. So look for Moe Cason in about 11 minutes from now. Second hour. One of the most favorite interviews we do on a monthly basis. Biggest trafficked website ever in barbecue and grilling, Meathead. Will be joining us, if you can believe that. Meathead, again, coming in for his monthly appearance, and we're going to cover a number of different topics. Such a big appearance that we're going right off the top. We're going to do the traditional hour 2 intro, and then Meathead will be right there, right off the top of the second hour. This allows us a little bit more flexibility to get some stuff in that perhaps we wouldn't normally do, and we're looking forward to that with Meathead. Topics will include use by versus sell by dates. Is grilling somehow linked to cancer? You can put sponges in your microwave. What about bleach solutions? What about safe thawing? FDA myths, FDA truths, all of this stuff we will be trying to get to. And, of course, whatever we don't get to, it's nice because then we have some carryover for the next visit that we have with Meathead as well. So, Moe Cason, first hour. Meathead Goldwyn from AmazingRibs.com, second hour. And it is going to be one fun time here tonight on the show. 877-448-0433. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. All right, everybody, where's yours? Because here's my update. The Beards for Barbecue update. I'm in 15-plus miles this past week. What did everybody else do? Go ahead. If you're on the chat room, go ahead, start listing it up. Did everybody get your runs in? Did everybody get your walks in? Are you watching what you're eating? You eating right? Healthy? Getting a little P90X in? Whatever the case may be. I'm working up to that. I'm working up to the P90X, getting myself in somewhat of a semblance of shape before I take on Tony Horton again. Doc Horton treated me right for 6 months prior, and I'm looking forward to doing that again, but it's going to be very sore, so I'm kind of not looking forward to that. But getting on the treadmill 5 days out of the week, 2 days off, getting in at least 3 miles during those times on the treadmill and getting at a nice rapid rate, get the heart pumping. So everybody needs to be getting in that Beers for Barbecue update with me, and I will continue to share, I guess, as long as I continue to do it. But that's my mission. That was one of my resolutions for the year. Maybe you saw that in the Washington Post. Want to make sure, look, I'm not telling anybody anything they didn't know. There's a lot of fat people that are out there in the barbecue world, and we need to step up the health. We can eat the way we want to, but we can also make sure that we're taking care of ourselves and each other as well. So Beers for Barbecue, healthy living in moderation, all the good stuff. But we got to get out there. We got to get the blood flowing. Got to get some exercise in. Doesn't have to be 5 days a week like me. You can start at 2. You can start at 3. Whatever the case, do more than what you're doing now, and then start to increase incrementally. That was almost redundant, I think, but I was able to stay away from that. So there's the Beers for Barbecue update. I just mentioned a little bit earlier that the Kansas City Barbecue Society had its annual banquet. And wouldn't you know that the newly elected board of director members were announced during the course of last weekend. And I'm probably not breaking any big news at this point, but it should come to no surprise to any of the Centralites who listen to the show that all of the 4 horsemen were elected. Jeff Stiff, Steve Farron, Dave Compton, and George Mullins all elected. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that the show was the only thing that got these guys elected. But that, of course, is the case. It's true. It's true. Look, you want to get into a place of prominence. You want to get elected to boards. You want to make millions and millions of dollars. You got to get linked up with the show somehow. So this is what we call karma. You think that had anything to do with it? You do right by the show, good things happen to those who do right by the show. They came on, they shared their thoughts, they were able to market themselves, point people to podcasts to get more of an in-depth look at their particular personal opinions and what they're looking to do with KCBS, and boom, there you go. 4 horsemen elected. So I was almost, 4 for 5. We have Steve Grinstead on as well, and I don't know if Steve was elected. Does anybody know if Steve, am I complete 100% here, or did he just miss out? A lot of brethren out there voting for Jeff and Steve and Dave and George because they're very big and very active on the Barbecue Brethren Forum as well. Yes, on Steve. Oh, wait a second. 100%. How does it not work? 5 for 5. Everybody that showed up on the show, got elected to KCBS. So congratulations to Jeff Stith, Steve Farron, Dave Compton, George Mullen, and Steve Grinstead. Congratulations to all you guys. Now do what you said you were going to do. Make the changes that you want to make. Bring everybody together. Get that vision going. Bring out your transparency. Everything that you bitched and moaned about. It's what Billy Carroll said last week. He didn't want to get involved with it. He didn't want to get involved with it simply because he didn't have the passion to want to put into it. So he wasn't going to sit there and whine and complain about something that he wasn't willing to invest time into, which I can certainly appreciate. So everybody that's new, everybody that wanted to make those changes, work well together and do good for KCBS, because after all, it is the biggest sanctioning body out there in competition barbecue. Also, want to give a quick mention to Mike out at Oak Ridge Barbecue. Sent me some rubs. Thank you, Mike. As Scott Roberts let us know, according to, wait a second. No, Grinstead. Steve in or Steve not? I'm a little confused right now, 30 seconds before I got to take a break here. Scott Roberts said that the Oak Ridge barbecue rubs are absolutely fantastic, and I absolutely agree. And this was a very nice surprise to get on the doorstep from Mike and the good folks over at Oak Ridge Barbecue. So Mike, certainly appreciate that. And I will be looking forward. I've always been especially partial to Santa Maria style rubs. I love Butcher Barbecue's steak and brisket rub because it's like just right up my alley. Certainly love that. So I'll be looking forward to doing that Oak Ridge barbecue thing. All right, Big Moe Cason coming up in about 3 minutes from now, and Meathead is going to be joining us here in the second hour. Folks, the holidays are over. Maybe you missed your chance to buy yourself something nice, something succulent. And by succulent, I mean like a watch or some type of jewelry or whatever the case may be. Now's your time to save. Here's what you're going to have to do. Go ahead over to my friend Steven DeFranco. He's been in here on the show. He's done the show a couple times. He's a barbecue guy at heart. He just happens to be an independent retailer of jewelry right here in Cleveland, Ohio. I've done a number of transactions with him. He is first class all the way. He is high integrity. He's fair prices, but bigger discounts for those people that mention they listen to the show. Go to the Barbecue Central Radio Network's homepage, okay? Do that first. Find Steve's banner, click over, look at all the inventory he has. I'm a watch guy. I love watches. I got that really nice Accutron line watch. You can save big percentage points over that list price that everybody else is going to have to pay when they walk in there. Now, maybe you're like, I'm out of state. What am I going to do about that? Glad you asked that. First, again, you can peruse the whole inventory. If you ever have any question, all you have to do is call that 440 area code number that you see listed on the Barbecue Central Radio Network's landing page for Steven DeFranco. And you can call in, you can ask for Steve himself, you can talk to his dad, you can talk to one of the other knowledgeable sales ladies there behind the counter, and they will answer each and every one of your questions. And then if you're out of state, they're going to ship it to you for free. If it's a watch, you get free batteries for life, you're going to get free polishing. Maybe you want to buy it for somebody, you can go ahead and have it professionally engraved by them. It's a first-class operation all the way. And now we finally know somebody that is in the jewelry business, so now we can save. You always have that guy, hey, don't Don't buy that at full price. I know a guy that's going to be able to get that for you at a steep discount. Well, you never know anybody that's in the jewelry business you can do that. Well, guess what? Now we do, and his name is Steven DeFranco. Again, this is the way you're going to want to find him. Two ways. You can either go right to the home, or you can either go right to his homepage, which is Steven DeFranco, DIFRANCO, StevenDeFranco.com, or you can go to the Barbecue Central Radio Network's homepage. Scroll down a little bit. You'll see the Steven DeFranco banner. Click on there. You go to the custom landing page that he's made for all the Centralites. And just peruse the inventory. Call in with any questions. But know you're going to get free shipping and huge discounts when you mention the show. You can mention the term Barbecue Brother, mention my name. Just let them know you heard the show, and let the savings ensue. StevenDeFranco.com, proud sponsor of the Barbecue Central Radio Show. We are going to step away. When we come back, we'll have Moe Cason on the line to talk a little bit of barbecue. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show right here on the Barbecue Central Radio Networks.
Barbecue Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Coming up on 14 past the hour. Don't forget Meathead coming up here in the second hour. Get my notes here. All right, as promised, joining me now is someone who I've been chasing for a good while now. You've seen him on TV, competition circuits. Let's go ahead and race over to the hotline, and we welcome in Big Moe Cason from Ponderosa BBQ. Mo, great to chase you down finally. How are you, buddy?
I'm fine, man. Greg, how you doing, man?
Oh, man, I'm absolutely loving life. I'm certainly appreciating the fact that you have taken time out to join the show. Someone who I have been anxiously anticipating talking barbecue with, so I certainly do appreciate you making time out tonight. Mo, you're fresh from that annual KCBS banquet out there on the left coast. If you could give us a little, Big Moe Cason recap of your experience there and maybe what some of the key takeaways for you were attending that event.
Well, man, I had a great time. I like going to the KCBS banquets. It's time for me to catch up with my friends from the circuit and from all over the country. And a great time, man. Get in, check in on Friday, and check in the room, get the wife, and ran into Tuffy and ran into a lot of good teams that I know and people that I know, and just kind of hung out for a little bit, and then we all kind of met around 5 o'clock in the evening, and they had like drinks and stuff down in the bar, and we kind of socialized, and and that was the start of it. We the big thing about the KCBS banquet is is to honor all the people that went out there on the circuit and did well and get their awards and go to classes. They offer like seminars and judging classes and things of that nature. I'm not exactly judging classes, but for the rules and regulations for the next year and all that. And yeah, man, I had a great time, man. It was just fun.
Moe Cason joining us here on the show. A lot of people bring their families. Is it just typically husband and wife, and you guys are just trading a lot of this is what happened to me this past year and this is what happened to me past year kind of stories?
Yeah, I didn't really see any kids. there was one couple I'd seen with a couple kids, but the majority is just, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, and just, because there's like drinking involved and partying, socializing and things of that nature, at night. And but there's some people that brought their kids. I didn't see too many of them, but they were out there.
All right, so as an overall recap, what do you give it, like 1 out of 10? Is something that you always like to do every year? Something that you could kind of take it or leave it, or where do you come out on the whole KCBS banquet?
I really enjoy it. I give it a 10. I love KCBS, man. I've competed a lot. I've been a member since 2006, and I enjoy it. It's got a lot of great people, man. Great people, and it's like family to me, and So it's a 10 for me. I just enjoy seeing all the people that I get to see. I go all over the country, not all over, good part of it and compete and everything, but it's a good chance for me to meet teams from California, obviously. I've never competed in California, but I met a lot of California teams, obviously being in San Diego. Yeah. And it was good.
Moe Cason joining us here on the show. Mo, there were some new members elected to the board, some of whom stopped by the show to give their takes on, what's good with KCBS, what they would like to see changed if they were elected. As someone like yourself, Mo, who competes within the confines of KCBS quite a bit, what's good with you for KCBS? What would you like to see improved on as time moves forward?
Well, I like that, I like that KCBS is growing. And growing really fast. So I just want to make sure that people, that are elected to the board, listen to the cooks, but also look at the vision 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road. Where do you see KCBS being 5 years down the road? To me, that's what's important. You got to have a vision. You got to have a vision on and try to achieve those goals. And it's going to grow. You can't stop it, man. I mean, competition barbecuing is huge, and it's a way of life. It's old as America, and it's just going to grow, and it's just really going to grow. And it's just to make sure that these elected board members, the new ones that are can implement what we need as cooks, and listen and try to do the best that they can.
All right, let me turn this around on you, Mo, for a quick second. Where would you like to see KCBS in 5 years? How do you envision it?
Me? I want as big as NASCAR. That's what I want. I want KCBS to be huge. I want competition barbecue huge. Just like my good friend Ronnie Case says, they can pay $1 million for a guy to catch a bass. There's no damn reason why we can't get $1 million for a team. I'm serious, man. I mean, it's a skill, it's an art, and people are really passionate, I mean, I get out there in the circuit, and these guys are, guys and gals both are just really passionate about their craft, man, and I just see it just blowing up, man.
All right, Mo, let me ask you this question. I wasn't even going to bother with this. I'm getting off on a tangent. I apologize, because there's a ton of other questions I'd like to ask you, but you kind of broach it, so let me follow up with it a little bit. You said it was a skill. Could you make an argument, because I have a whole different take that I'll do someday on the show, as far as what should be considered a sport, what should not be considered a sport. But given how things are considered these days, do you think competition barbecue is a sport?
Yeah, I think it's a sport. I mean, it's a craft, it's an art, but when you enter the competition scene as competition barbecue, it's a sport then. If you want to just have it as an art and you want to cook in your backyard, that's cool. But once you enter that arena, when there's dollars involved and trophies and points, it's a sport. Just like NASCAR, bass fishing, bowling, it's a sport.
All right, so let's go ahead and kind of recap 2011 for you, Mo. How many events did you end up getting in finally?
I did 25.
25 events. All right, so that's more than most. You're kind of right on the cusp of getting in with those guys that are almost doing it every weekend. You had mentioned that you were looking to take the pork category last year. You took 8th overall, which is tremendous. But when you look at the 7 teams that finished ahead of you, man, that is some real stiff competition now. What did you like with your pork this past year, and what do you think you might need to do to it in order to step it up a little bit to get you that top spot in 2012?
Man, my pork is there. It's there. I don't care. I'm rocking it. I'm doing the best pork that I've ever took to my life. The big thing is that I switched my brain. That was mid-year. I went to Eden Farms, and as soon as I went to Eden Farms, right off the gate, I started scoring. Scoring raw. And I scored before, but, I'm a big fan of Berkshire and Iowa Berkshire and Iowa Hog. I mean, we got great pork. We're a pork state. And, I think we got the best pork in the country. And that's just my personal opinion. I get my pork fresh. It's good, great quality. Eden Farms is awesome. They just, it's just awesome product. I mean, you got to know how to cook it, because it's different, a little different. But once you know how to cook pork, man, it's money. Flavor is intense. It's through the roof. Moisture, texture, it's perfect.
Are you injecting?
I do inject, but I don't inject with phosphates.
It's just something homemade that you make up?
Yep, and it ain't far from what I did from the show. People think it's not real, but it is. I mean, good quality pork, and the marbling's there. So, I mean, why do I need to inject something that, I mean, nothing against injections as far as phosphates and things, but me personally, no, I don't inject with phosphates. I don't. It's something that I make at home, and some of it you see on the show. And I use that week in and week out. I'm a big fan of Coca-Cola. I'm a big fan of jerk, and ham base, and, and there's a few other things I put in there, but, well, I guess ham base, I mean, I haven't used ham base in a while, but, that's one thing I did use a while back. But it's actually just ham base. I mean, it's not the powder stuff, none of that stuff, but it's the real deal.
Moe Cason joining us here on the show. Ponderosa BBQ is the team name. PonderosaBBQ.com, the website. Mo, to be a Team of the Year contender, you need to have 4 solid meat categories. Give me an overview of where your brisket and your ribs and your chicken are right now. I mean, obviously the pork is hitting, but where are the other 3 at?
Chicken, actually, chicken is in one of my worst category, period. Chicken is so subjective. It really is. I mean, I really feel that 2012 is going to be a great year for Ponderosa BBQ because I'm cooking the best brisket I've ever cooked. Now, after I came back from Cummings, Georgia in November, I told myself, I was sitting right next to a Tuffy, BBQ's across from me, QL's right across from me, and those guys are strong cooks, and I just knew that I had to step up my brisket. I had to step my brisket up. Because I would do okay, I'd get calls here and there, but, guys like that, they're just knocking it out of the park. And, I just need to step it up. So I got home, bought me 4 cases of prime, and I make a fabulous steak. I'll put my steak up against anybody because I have a fabulous steak. And I just start playing around with something that I've always been thinking about doing, and I did. And this, this brisket I'm making now is rocking. And ribs have always been there for me. I do pretty good ribs. I'm proud of them. And so I make my own sauce and my own rub and stuff. So, pretty good, for me being a glorified backyard guy, I hang in there with the guys. But the thing about it is, like you're saying, you got to hit them all. But I think the key is you got to have a strong pork and a strong brisket. There's a ton of people out there that do great chicken and great ribs because obviously those are things that people cook a lot. I didn't cook my first brisket until I started competing KCBS, and that was in 2006. And because I grew up, we didn't cook. My mom, in the house, we didn't cook brisket, because we didn't have the time. My mom didn't want to take the time to cook it, so we did a lot of grilling. But that's my favorite thing to cook now is brisket. And, I got some, I'm telling you, man, Greg, this season is going to be huge, man, because I really feel that my brisket it's night and day difference than what I was doing last year. It's just really phenomenal, great brisket. And the thing is, I used to inject, and I did inject with phosphates like that, and it's okay for each his own, to each his own. But I got a good friend of mine, Jess Spurgeon from KC Camp, a good friend of mine, man, and we was at a contest right next to each other, and he came over, I was prepping my meat, my brisket and stuff, and I was injecting, and he was like, he told me, he said, why you doing that? And I'm thinking, well, I'm trying to get, flavor and moisture and all that kind of stuff. And he told me, he said, do you inject the ribeye? Do you inject the filet mignon? I said, well, no, I don't. And he said, man, if you have good rub and, and cook it correctly, he said, man, I'm telling you, that brisket will beat 9 times out of 10, it'll be anything that's injected with that kind of stuff. And I'm not knocking that kind of things, because I've got that sitting in my refrigerator, freezer, and I've just learned a different way by cooking and by taking my steak technology, just I do, and I just transfer it to my brisket, and I love it. It's the best brisket I'm doing.
All right, Mo, so let me ask you this question. Some teams are going out each and every year to win Team of the Year for whatever sanctioning body they're in. Some teams go out to promote their sauce or rubs or cookers, whatever the case may be. Some have restaurants are looking to get visibility for. What motivates Big Moe Cason to get out there on that circuit?
I just love. I love cooking. I love barbecuing, and the big thing is I love the competition scene. I love getting out there and putting my stuff up against everybody else, and just to see what happens. I love the smell of firing up my pit. I love the smell of all the smells in the air of all the different cookers, and everybody's there doing the same thing. And I just love it. You know, I started this in 2006, June, and I did 20 that year, and I've done 20 every year, basically. And I was just hooked, man. And for me, it's just a way of life. Lord willing, man, I'll be competing for as long as I can, man, until I physically can't do it no more or financially can't do it no more.
What kind of cookers are you using right now, Mo?
I got, for years, I cooked on Old Hickory, big fan of them, big fan of Big Green Egg. That's what I cooked on, Big Green Egg. I got my trailer enclosed, so now I don't have the room for my Old Hickory, so that's on another trailer. But I've got, my cookers are my Big Green Egg, I got an XL, and I got a large, and then I got a Stumps Classic. Awesome cooker, love it. Just started using it, and my first time using it was in Cummings, Georgia. And I'm good friends with Stumps, and I bought it used from a friend of mine who had it, and it just works out great on the back of my trailer. Cooks great. Cook on it every week. I cook brisket every single week, and it's just that and my Big Green Egg. That's what I got.
Well, let me ask you this question. You know, you started in 2006. Has there been a vast change of equipment that you started out with? And as the years have evolved, has your competing setup and your accoutrements changed to kind of evolve with that time? Or are you pretty much where you're at when you started?
No, I'm not a guy that bounces around a lot. I'm the kind of person that when something works, I stick with it. So when I first started, I had an SDLX I cooked on for years. And it was an Old Hickory SDLX. Great cooker, man. Loved it, man. And but they're big. But my trailer was open. I never had anything that was enclosed. So it was 32 degrees. I sat out there with my Carhartt in the open trailer and just cooked. And but finally, I was able to get a trailer built this year, and it was open until like right before Cummings, Georgia. I finally had it enclosed. And when I had it enclosed, I couldn't fit my big pit on there anymore, so I took it off. But I always love my eggs, and I got a Stumps, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled with what I'm putting out. I'm totally thrilled.
You ever taken a competition cooking class?
Never. And there's guys out there that razz me. Greg, I think there's two people in this world in the competition scene. You got hares, okay, and you got tortoises. And I'm a tortoise. And I just think that there's nothing wrong with taking classes because I got a lot of great friends who put on great classes. But I'm just one of them kind of guys who wants to figure it out himself. I just want to figure it out myself. That's just how I am, man. And I got nothing wrong with people taking classes. If you want to shorten the learning curve, that's great. But I think a true pit master, this is just my opinion, you need to get out and cook and try different things, try different sauces. I make my own sauce and I make my own rubs and stuff. And granted, there's some great, excellent products on the market that you can buy and it's ready to go and it'll just kick ass. But I'm the kind of person, I've got a recipe book probably 3/4 of an inch, Greg, that has all of my trials and errors and all of my recipes, and I got every single one of them when I started. And I just really feel that to be a good cook is to be able to make adjustments. I can go to a grocery store if I didn't have no sauce with me. I can go cross country, go to the store, pick everything up I need, make a sauce up right on spot, and it'll be competition quality. There's a lot of cooks out there that can't say that. They can't do that. If they can't get this in X, Y, and Z, they're stuck like Chuck. Mm-hmm. And that's not me. And I can go to the grocery store, and I can go get all my rubs, and I can make it right on the spot. Now, as I said again, I'm just one of them kind of guys. I've never taken the classes, and I figured I want to figure it out myself. I've got friends of mine, great multi-champion winners. We can sit there and talk at a contest, and they start going on a tangent about something, telling me, and I'm not going to sit there and say no, but I don't sit there and try to probe anybody. Anybody who knows me knows I don't probe you for information. You know, if we're sitting there, we're good friends, you're going to tell me, so be it. You know what I mean? Because, there's nothing wrong with learning. Learning is a beautiful thing. Okay, but I'm just not going to drop. Since I don't have the money, and even if I did, I just wouldn't do it. I got nothing, and it just sounds like I'm a hater, but I'm not a hater, man. I just, figure it out, man. If I told my grandmother, may she rest in peace, I'm going to give somebody X amount of dollars to take the class, she'll look at me like I'm crazy. You going to do what? Barbecue is simplistic. That's I truly believe it. It really, when it gets down to it, it's very simplistic. You just have to get out, and you have to cook. You got to you got to be able to make adjustments. What happens when it's 32 degrees, 28 degrees? Or what happens when it's 99 degrees? Are you able to make that adjustment? Do you know the feel of ribs when they're done? Do you know the feel of pork when it's done? Brisket. And only how you really truly know that is by cooking. That's the only how, man. That's just me, man. And I don't hate on nobody, man. More power to them. They're making money to finance their businesses and their competition, and that's great. And they're proven winners. Why not take the class? I guess that people will win. But Big Mo's not gonna do that. That's just not me. It's just not me, man.
Moe Cason joining us here on the show. PonderosaBBQ.com is the website. All right, Mo, hang on just for a second. We'll carry you over here into the third segment of the show. But quickly, let me tell you guys and gals about the good folks over at Warminster, Pennsylvania, the Barbecue Guru, the longest-running sponsor of the show. That's right. You can find them at thebbqguru.com. You can also call them at 800-288-GURU. Now, you might be asking yourself, what do these people do, this Barbecue Guru? Do they know it all? Well, yeah, they know it all because they're the first people that had ever come up with this idea of making a contraption. It's going to go on your cooker. You're going to be able to set a temperature, and then through a series of microprocessors and fans, it's going to sit there and keep your pit temperature exactly where you're dictating it to be. So perhaps you're a busy professional like me. You want to have a brisket when you get home for dinner. Get up early in the morning, get it on there, set the Barbecue Guru for 225, 250, 275 degrees, whatever the case may be. Go to work and know that all across the during of the day that you are working, the Barbecue Guru is maintaining that pit temperature control device, or it's just maintaining the pit temperature control, the pit temperature, that's what I need to say. You also have models that have additional probes that can go in this meat, and once that internal temperature has been reached in your particular protein, it's going to start to turn that cooker from a cooker into a holding chamber. So now you're not going to get any type of bacteria or any dirtiness that could grow on it, because we're all very critical and we're all very conscious about temperatures and where they're at. Is it above 140? Is it below 40? Safety first. The Barbecue Guru is going to help you with that. They got 4 different models that you can choose from. The Procom 4 wireless. So if you like to visit when you're on competitions, no problem. You can range up to 600 feet away. You can see where your pit temperature is at. You can make adjustments right on that face of the contraption as well. So that's option number 1. Option number 2, CyberQ 2. Option number 3, DigiQ DX. And of course, you have the thing that is changing the face of automatic pit temperature control, the PartyQ. It's an all-in-one. It runs on AA batteries. You're going to get 35, 40 hours of a cook before you have to change those. But it's all in one unit, so you can take it to a competition, you can take it to a catering event. It hooks up to the Weber-style cookers, the kettle-type grills, and the Kamado-style, the big green eggs like Mo has, or the big steel keg like I got. It's quite frankly one of the best investments that you can make if you like to do other things when you're in the backyard, or if you like to get some sleep while you're at the competitions. Many teams out there winning them are using them, and they're loving them. And now you should go take a look at them as well. Go to thebbqguru.com, or you can call Bob or one of the other people out there at the Barbecue Guru toll free, 800-288-GURU. Tell them that the Barbecue Central radio show sent you. You'll be happy you did. We're going to come back in 10 seconds with Moe Cason. More barbecue talk. Stick around.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Big B, Moonshine Band, Suburban Noise Records. Let's go! I'm an outlaw.
Give me 2 shots. We don't need a radio. Bring a jukebox for my outlaws. Bring me 3 shots.
All right, we are back. Coming up on 20 minutes till the top of the hour. 40 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Meathead coming up in about 30 minutes from now, less than 30 minutes, but we'll go ahead and continue our conversation with Big Moe Cason from Ponderosa BBQ. Mo, appreciate you hanging with me through the break there. Flavor profiles, Mo, because you were kind of dovetailing into that here towards the end of the break. How are you seeing them on the circuit now, and do you feel like they're going to be changing anytime soon?
I think there's my personal opinion, I think there's a change more less sweet, more savory. That's I think that's what it is. My pork is not, my sauce is not overly sweet. And I use it on my pork, and I think that's one reason why too. I mean, it's not one of the reasons also why people on pork. I think it's not super sweet. Not, I don't think pork should be like, and people say, some people like it, but me personally, no, I don't want to eat. I want to taste the pork. And I mean, granted, I have some sweetness in my sauce. Don't get me wrong. I just don't have. It's not like candy. I just don't like it.
Moe Cason joining us here on the show. Mo, let's kind of change gears a little bit here and just talk about some general barbecue stuff. You were on Pitmasters 2, the television show. How was your experience on that? I know we're a little bit removed from the taping and when it actually aired, but I haven't had you on since then. How did you like the experience, and do you think it gave a positive for barbecue?
Yes, I had a great time. And, John Marcus, man, I mean, he's a cool cat. I mean, and he's genuine, really genuine, man. And what I liked about him is he's straight up, and I had a great experience. I had a great experience. It was one of those things where, I had an opportunity of a lifetime, man. I got fortunate enough to get on the show, man, and I had a great time, man. They just really, I mean, I got a lot of respect for them for what they do. I mean, there's a lot of filming involved and a lot of editing and things of that nature to make 45 minutes of TV. And I mean, the skill they have, from angle shots and things of that nature, and it was just a great experience. I'll do it again in a minute, man. I just had a great time. And John Marcus is a friend of mine now, and he's just a really cool cat, man. He's just straight up, man.
So what do you think? I mean, barbecue on TV in general, we've seen it in a number of formats now. Not an overwhelming hooray of sorts for some of the folks in the niche. I've had John Marcus on the show a few times. Obviously, he's an Emmy Award-winning producer. He has maintained that when barbecue goes on TV, it has to bastardize to some degree in order to attract as many people as possible. Do you think that there is a viability of a show that would be more like Pitmasters Season 1 or perhaps even more in-depth than Season 1 that could be a success on some kind of TV, or is it just kind of wishful thinking for the people really steeped into barbecue?
No, I mean, I think people want to see that. I really do. I think people would enjoy watching, barbecue done right on the show. And I really do believe John Marcus has got the skills and the know-how and the the stuff to make it happen, man. And I think it will be on TV or more regularly, and I hope so, because it's great. People like seeing that, man. People like seeing. I mean, if they got Chopped and they got, all these other shows, and there's no reason why they can't have art. I mean, you just got to brainstorm, man. There's stuff out there to do, I mean, I just think it's gonna, and sooner or later, it's gonna be out there, man, on a regular basis.
All right, so for the teams that might be looking to jump in this year into competitive barbecue to some degree, do you have any sage words of wisdom from Big Moe that they might want to take into account before jumping in?
Patience, man. I'm not one of those guys that had instant success. I'm a glorified backyard guy, and and you have to be dedicated to it. You really, truly have to be dedicated to the cook, and wanting to get better and wanting to succeed. I mean, because if you had my track record, some people probably would just quit, because it's very expensive. But I don't care, man. I'm gonna compete, and I take care of my family, take care of my household, and then what money I have left over, I go out and compete. And just don't give up, man. I mean, if you truly, truly like it, I love it. It's just it's a way of life for me. I love barbecuing, man, and I love the family of barbecuing, and just don't give up. Some people. I mean, I've been there frustrated. You get out there, and it's the same names winning, but they're winning because of a reason, man. Mm-hmm. What I thought I was doing 2 years ago, I'm constantly learning new things, and I'm constantly evolving. When I cooked my first brisket, I thought it was pretty damn good, but now I think about back down, that brisket was a joke compared to what I'm doing now. And you have to just keep on, because there's people out there putting out some amazing stuff. And even if you never get a chance to try it, they're putting it down. Because when you're cooking at a contest, you know what I mean, and there's like chick, swine, and bovine, you got the Toughies, the Triggers, a lot of bull, all these great teams, Philadelphia beating guys, and when you're out there cooking, man, and they're doing something right, okay, because they're winning. Because it's all about taste and texture, man. And, if they ever are nice enough to give you a slice, and you'll see. They'll be like, wow, my buddy Wozniak, man, we was down in Cummings, Georgia, man, here in November, and we're good friends and everything, and I supplied him a piece of my pork, and he tried his pork, and I knew this pork was top 10 pork, and I knew that I had some good stuff, too. And I, as soon as I tasted it, I knew, it was money, man. And you have to keep at it. That's the way you're going to get better, man, is to keep at it, man. And I said again, I'm going back to where taking classes. I have no problem people taking classes, man. If that's your thing, man. I mean, knowledge is power, man. But, I think, being able to learn how to cook and cook pork really well and do it well, just takes time, man.
Moe Cason joining us here on the show. Well, let me ask you this. Let me get your take. I had a big back and forth with a guy named Meathead Goldwyn from AmazingRibs.com last year regarding what is barbecue and what is grilling. And Meathead said that barbecue is kind of this big umbrella and that somewhere underneath the scope of barbecue is grilling. And I vehemently disagreed, said that these are two different cooking methods and should be divided as such. Where do you fall out on that?
I'm sorry, Greg, we got to go with Meathead, man. I cook brisket.
What?
Yeah, man.
You're not working your way back on the show, buddy.
Listen, man. I cook brisket now at a temperature that would fall under grilling. I mean, if you look at temperature-wise, I'm cooking brisket a little over 300 degrees. And it's on the lower end of grilling, but basically it's that those temperatures is where, that's where it's at. So, I mean, there is grilling in that realm, and in barbecue, traditionally it's low and slow, 225, whatever, but, you're barbecuing at 300 degrees, you're barbecuing at 200 degrees.
All right, let me ask this follow-up question. Let me kind of clarify with this statement or question. So if we stay in a similar vein, is what is real barbecue? Is competition barbecue traditional barbecue, or is it a succulent bastard of what most people would consider real barbecue? Can you separate the two out?
No, you know what? There's teams out there doing real barbecuing competition, and there's people out there doing bastardized barbecuing. I got friends of mine that win constantly cooking chicken and butter. That ain't me. That ain't barbecuing to me. But it wins. You know what I'm saying? I just, I've tasted it, and I see why they do it. It's texture and it has great flavor. But that's not me, man. I don't consider that barbecuing. But, I mean, because you're cooking it in a pan, and you're cooking it with butter, and then the chicken is surrounded by butter, and then you're finishing it right at the end on a Weber or whatever you're doing. You know, so the majority of its time cooking, it's cooking in butter. Well, that's like throwing it in the oven. Is that barbecue? No, I don't think it's barbecuing, but they're out there winning with it. They're out there, you know, winning. So that, you know, there is areas of people that are out there doing traditional barbecuing, and there's people out there that are out there doing whatever, you know.
All right, now look, you're an Iowa guy. There are a number of great teams that have won a lot of everything, also based out of that state. You know, I guess not traditionally or historically known as a barbecue mecca or hotbed. What is happening out there in Iowa? Did you guys get together and just decide to take over this barbecue world, or what?
Now, there's some great Iowa teams.
Yes.
I mean, there's some great Iowa teams, and there's some great teams throughout the Midwest. But if you're focusing on Iowa, there's some great teams, and I can't knock those guys. Those guys are, you know, they're winning. Swine Assassins, Pippies,
Iowa Smoky D's.
Iowa Smoky D's. Yeah, man, those guys, you know, the guys are out there. They're doing it, man, and you know, you can't knock it. I mean, they go out, you know, Swine Assassins can go out to Arizona or wherever, or Tippy can go out to Arizona and win, and so obviously they're doing something right. You know, they're doing something right. You know, I don't know what their history is, or how they learn cooking, or what, you know, whatever they've done, they've obviously latched on to a profile that works for them. And that's, you know, that's that. I mean, I can't really say too much about them, just that they win, you know, and I don't know much about their background. I mean, I don't, even though I'm from Iowa, and I know them. You know, I just don't know them that well.
You guys haven't colluded and just taken all the barbecue competition secrets and kept them for yourself.
No, they don't do it with me. No, not with me. They may do it amongst themselves, you know, but not with me. But I wouldn't take their, I just won't do that. I mean, you know, they know me as being a hard ass on that tip. They know I'm never going to be one of the kind of guys who's going to sit there and try to pick the brain. You know, I'm just not that kind of guy. Never will be. I don't care who it is. I got really good friends of mine that compete all over, and I'm just not that guy. And more power to them. Just keep on knocking and winning. You know, you got a lot of great Iowa cooks, and I'm proud of them. You know, and that's great. You know, and just keep on doing it. You know, whatever they're doing. Obviously, people like it.
What's the first contest of the year, Mo?
For me, it's going to be. I just finished my schedule today, and, you know, I picked up some contests, some pre-entries at the banquet, which I'm really happy about. And I think it'll be Mobile. There's North Kansas City and Mobile. I got to go back out to San Diego next month to speak out at the National Barbecue Convention. Just doing a little 30-minute spiel on pork. So I wouldn't, if I wasn't doing that, I would do the Forest Wine or Kansas Winter Q, but that's the same weekend, so I can't do that. So it'll probably be Mobile, Alabama in March, early March.
All right, so you got a little time for that. Moe Cason, pitmaster of Ponderosa BBQ. Mo, appreciate all the insight and candor tonight. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No problem, buddy.
All right, there he is. It's Big Moe Cason. PonderosaBBQ.com is the website if you want to check it out. Lots to react to, which we'll do here quickly after this break. Again, PonderosaBBQ.com is the email address for Big Moe. Absolutely fantastic. Well worth the wait, in my opinion. I'll wait another 5 months before he comes on again. I mean, if he was going to wait 5 months. I would personally not rather wait that. Nevertheless. All right, gang. We've talked about it a number of times. You have a guy like me who is a backyard guy. But I'm not just going to sit here and be satisfied with my barbecue. I'm looking to step it up however I can, whenever I can, and that's why I am happy that one of the best ways to do that also happens to be a sponsor of the show. It's Dave Bosca from Butcher Barbecue. Look, folks, it's going to come as no surprise that Dave has one of the premier products out there when it comes to injections. For your pork, for your brisket. I mean, you heard Moe talk about how he does it. Look, people are injecting. Don't fool yourselves. If you don't have the skills to make meals and do your own stuff in the kitchen, you want to go out and get Dave's product. You want to try it out. You want to see why he took 3rd overall for Team of the Year in KCBS. Somebody's doing something right. Guess what? Dave uses Butcher Barbecue. Yeah. Big surprise, right? He's also got some great revolutionary product called Grill. So when it's cold out, like it's going to be for me for the next 6 months, I don't want to brave the elements, but I want to impart a grilled flavor on the stuff that I am making for my guests or just the family. I'm going to get this grill. Now, you can use it as both an injection or a marinade, or you can use it as both. You can fill up that Ziploc bag with grill, slam your pork tenderloin in there, or your chicken pieces, whatever the case may be. Let it marinate for a little bit, and then get your big syringe out. Suck that up, and then go ahead and put a nice layer of injection in that. Really fill it up. And then put it in the oven. Take it out. It's going to have that nice grilled flavor. You're going to have that nice moisture yield. It's one of the most revolutionary products that hit the barbecue and grilling market, and that's why you got to go head over to butcherbbq.com. That's butcherbbq.com and order yourself up some today. Buy one of everything. I mean, you're absolutely going to love the rubs. I've actually done shots of sauce here on the show. I actually have to reorder sauce. I'm glad I'm going to write myself a little bit note here because we had some leftover pulled pork last night, and the daughters were like, "Where's the Butcher Barbecue sauce?" So got to reorder that. But the rubs are top-notch, and, of course, the injections are beyond reproach. Teams across the country are winning weekend in and weekend out with Dave's products. Whether they want to admit it or not, they're using it, and they're winning. Step your backyard game up, step your competition level game up, and bring home some checks for those categories. ButcherBBQ.com. That's ButcherBBQ.com. No, Dave, no free sauce. I'm buying it. This one's on me. You support the show, I support the sponsors, and you should too. ButcherBBQ.com. We're wrapping up with thoughts on Big Moe right after this.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs. And the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
Who would have thought this music thing was going to go this far? I never asked for this. I never asked for this fast living, the women, the whiskey, craziness. There's whiskey in my soul.
All right, we are back.
Hey, Bert, let's go.
Want to thank Moe Cason for joining me for the last, roughly 35, 40 minutes or so. Knew when I was constructing the outline of questions that I didn't want to forget to ask him that, A, we were going to be spinning off, and it was going to be kind of a nightmare to get back on track as soon as we started to. But look, well worth it. Absolutely. He brought a lot of perspective to the show, was giving out a lot of huge, great information for free, which I always appreciate and adore from all the guests. But look, as you kind of read through that chat line, you can see people that have met Moe, see him on television, you see him in pictures at events that he has attended. This guy is bigger than life. He's like a big brother to Big Mister. He's the bigger mister. Larger than life, physical stature, larger than life personality, and he brought it strong right here on the show for 2 whole segments. I mean, it's not easy to carry 2 whole. Meathead is a different story. He could carry 5 hours standing on his head, but he's just a guy that likes to talk, and I'm never going to hear the end about how barbecue is the umbrella and grilling is falling underneath it. I didn't want to get into a shouting match with a guest, but he was wrong. It's not the same. I don't know. You're not going to convince me that somehow grilling falls under the purview of barbecue, that barbecue is the top upper echelon and everything comes beneath it. To me, it's not the case, and I know there's other top men in the industry that would agree with me, and women, and some of you that may not. That's why we have this show, Differing Opinions. Also, I wanted to say that he's not using any commercial injections out there. He's making his own stuff. He is not using any commercial rubs out there. He's using his own stuff. So for the people that are out there that are thinking about getting in to the competition world, and one thing I didn't get to ask him was, and I believe I saw it in the chat, was he does have a day job, or he does have a real life job, and then he's out doing the competition scene. Competition barbecue inherently is pretty expensive, especially when you're deciding to take that first step into the competition season. You got to have cookers. You got to have entry fees. You got to be able to buy all your meat. You got to be able to get all your supplies together. You just don't show up with a couple grills and meat. You got to have tables and tents, and you got to have coolers, and you got to have meat pans and sanitary gloves and all of this other stuff that you probably aren't thinking about in your head when you're looking to start a team. Yeah, you got 4 buddies that know how to cook, or you got 2 buddies that know how to cook, or maybe your husband and wife team and the kids are out of the house, you're empty nesters, you get a hair up your ass and you're thinking about, man, what can we do? Let's get into this competition barbecue scene. Best idea ever. If you're not properly preparing and you're doing your due diligence on expense, you're going to have to pull the kids back out of college because now you're not able to afford that tuition payment anymore because you did 5 competitions. You didn't realize it was going to cost you like $5,000. I think it's safe to say that the average competition is going to cost you anywhere between $600, $750, depending on length of travel. Are you sleeping at site? Are you getting hotel rooms? Do you have an 80-foot trailer that you're hidden away from everybody? You're putting 5,000 gallons of diesel fuel in there. Expenses. Are you recouping? To make up for that expense at all? That's the big part that nobody really ever talks about. How many competitions are you doing? How much are you expenditurizing? That's right, I said it. Expenditurizing. New word. And what are you making in return to offset that investment? All right, we're going to wrap up here, and we will look for Meathead right at the top. Debuting You Can't Hurry Ribs, the song that he wrote and had professionally recorded. Your thoughts in the chat room on that as it plays out. We'll be coming back with Meathead in about 25 seconds. Sorry, 2 minutes and 25 seconds. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show right here on the Barbecue Central Radio Networks.
Understand my intention.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan. So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the Charbono, dude!
Succulent fish! What?
He ate 54 wieners.
But listen, Lavernius, shake a face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
You could use it to fight off creeping marauders looking to take your steaks off your grills.
I just like being anywhere with Junior, Senior, and Diva.
Sounds like a whole other type of movie.
Wow, yeah, really. Keep it hot, keep it clean, keep it lubricated.
We have top men working on it right now. Who? Top men.
All right, we are back for the second hour. Gang, stay tuned for the world premiere debut of You Can't Hurry Ribs, written by one Meathead Goldwyn, sung to the tune of You Can't Hurry Love, professionally recorded, by the way, bought and paid for by the Meathead. Here we go. Your reaction as necessary.
I need ribs to ease my day. I need to find time to cook them right. My papa said, can't hurry ribs. No, you just have to wait. He said, ribs don't come easy. It's a game of time and time. You can't hurry ribs. No, you just have to wait. Just trust in the low and slow. No matter how long it takes. How many boiled slabs must I stand before I find the crunch hanging on is a memory of smoking it down to the bone. I remember Papa said you can't hurry ribs. No, you just have to wait. He said ribs don't come easy. It's a game of time and temp. How long must I wait?
Long.
How much thirst must I take?
A lot.
Before succulent land.
Succulent land, lady, yeah.
No, I can't bear.
All right.
Them burnt
Meathead joins us here on the show. Meathead, you can't hurry ribs. It's a game of time and temp. Where does the lyrics flow out of you so easily? It's like you have a gift.
It's a natural for that song. I'm also just putting the finishing touches on "Stand by Your Grill,"
as in a Patsy Cline classic.
You got it.
Wow. Well, when is that song going to drop, as they say in the industry?
I don't know.
It's a work in progress.
How is the Cleveland Cavalier of barbecue?
Well, we're 500, but we're what are the Bulls these days? Like 12-2. I mean, you guys are on fire. Probably the team that's going to be coming out of these. Look out! There's somebody right behind you, Meathead. They're coming to get you. Oh, wait, hold on. Maybe that was your wife. Never mind. So I'm waiting. Just start to give it to me. I don't know if you heard, but Moe Cason unbelievably agreed that barbecue is the master umbrella and everything else is falling in underneath to include grilling. I couldn't believe he made that mistake himself, but go ahead, heap it on.
No, I'm not. One of these days, since it's been about a year since we've had that debate, we'll have to do round 2. It's a fun discussion. But right now, I want to know, how did you steal that bathing cap from Michael Phelps?
Well, we're close friends. We smoke a lot of pot together. And we... Actually, it was Do-Rag Carroll brought it in last week, and you call him Do-Rag for a reason. He has this fascination with do-rags, and he brought me one the last time he was in about 2 years ago, and he brought me one to kind of ante up my cache of do-rags. So counting this one, I now have 2, so I can almost interchange. It's like I can wear one next week, one every other week. It's great. Are you jealous? You want one? I can hook you up.
You're swimming in do-rags.
Yes, swimming in do-rags. All right, so we have a number of items to get to tonight, Meathead. And before I get into that, let me tell you that Meathead runs the most trafficked website when it comes to barbecue and grilling, AmazingRibs.com. If you've never checked it out, you're doing yourself and your family a disservice, so go ahead and get over there and check it out. First question, why am I hearing so much about foodborne illness, and is our food supply more dangerous all of a sudden than it has ever have been, or is this social media and Twitter blowing everything out of proportion?
That's a good question. You notice it's now called foodborne illness, not food poisoning. It used to be food poisoning when I was growing up. I guess they've changed the terminology. I think it's partially because they're better at detecting. And it's really quite remarkable how good they are getting at tracing back when somebody gets sick or a small population gets sick, where they came from. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, there was a case that I think they traced it back to the actual field of jalapenos in Mexico by using DNA fingerprinting and stuff like that. It's pretty amazing stuff. But I think it's their reporting is getting more accurate. They say the Centers for Disease Control says that something like 48 million Americans get sick from food every year. About 128,000 of us are hospitalized, and 3,000 die. That's almost the same number that died on September 11th. Every year, dying from foodborne illness. The U.S. population's around 300 million. If 48 million are getting sick, that's around 16%. A lot of us are getting sick from our food. I'm not sure why. There may be better reporting, and it may also be that there's more of it out there, that these pathogens have spread wider. Some people think it has something to do with the way our food is grown today. A lot of people point at the farm system as a possible breeding ground for more pathogens. But, we just had an incident earlier this year in Germany. Several dozen people, I don't know the head count, died in Germany. It's an issue. And, those of us who cook and eat and love to eat probably ought to make sure we're up to speed on food safety.
All right, so you brought it up. If a lot of us like to eat, obviously we like to make a lot of stuff at home. We also enjoy the occasional night out. Is it safer to eat at one place or another?
Well, that is a fair question. I think it's probably safer to eat at home than eating out if you know what you're doing. Restaurants are constantly, they're inspected. They know the rules. They've taken classes, but they're under pressure, and they're watching the bottom line. And if they've got a section of beef that's been sitting in the bottom of the cooler for a couple of weeks and they forgot about it and it's getting late in the night and they just need the extra meat, they might pull it out. I think it's safer to cook at home if you know the basic rules, if you know the hazards, if you know what can go wrong.
All right, so we have one of the big questions that I've always been reading about, and you get people's different takes on it, and this will lead us to the first break here. Does grilling cause the C word? And I'm not talking about see you next Tuesday. I'm talking about cancer. I hear it all the time, or if it gets this or that sort. What is going on with this cancer in the grilling link?
I write regularly for Huffington Posts. They have a very active food section, and it's a really interesting group of people, including a bunch of real hardcore vegans and vegetarians and food Nazis. And every time I write about barbecue or grilling, some idiot jumps in there and says, don't you know grilling causes cancer? They're not exactly sure. They've done a bit of research on it, but it seems to be that it's bad grilling that causes cancer. It's carbonizing of the food. It's charring it black. If you take your food as dark as you can, but not to black, you're probably safe. When you take fat in particular, like you get that steak and you get that charcoal grill as hot as you can, and you're going to sear that exterior as dark as possible, just don't let it burn. And if it burns, if it gets black, trim off that black fat, and you're probably safe. Now, this is the latest research. I'm not a scientist. I got to tell you right off front, make sure everybody knows this. I can't claim any expertise, although I do read extensively about it. And the person who shares my bedroom with me is a food safety scientist, and I ask her questions all the time, and she gives me answers, and I try to understand them. It's as near as I can tell, no, it doesn't cause cancer if you cook it right.
How come somebody isn't coming out and just saying, look, here's the way it is. If you're cooking it right, you're not going to get cancer. They seem to leave it in a gray area. Is this just to perpetuate continual conversation on the whole subject?
No, it's how funny how things stick like that. Like back in the 70s, I think it was, somebody came out with a preliminary test that said nitrates and nitrosamines, the compounds that are used in prog salt and other things that are used to make bacon and hot dogs and cured meats like corned beef, was potentially dangerous. And that caught the media's attention. And the word spread like wildfire. And they've done a bunch of testing since then and pretty much said, nah, not true, not a problem. And the word just doesn't get out. When somebody writes a paper that says grilling may cause cancer, that gets spread like, it's on the morning news, right. It's on the evening news. And when somebody comes out and says, we really double-checked and triple-checked, and then another guy comes out and says, we quadruple checked and quintuple checked. And somebody else comes out and says, we sextuple checked. And it doesn't pan out. That doesn't get the news. So I think that, I've been trying to tell people, I've got a big article on it on my website. I think if you Google, does grilling cause cancer, my site comes up fairly high. But it's just one of these myths that's going to perpetuate. And there is this group of people in our society who have read Michael Pollan, who is brilliant, They read Bittman in the New York Times, who's brilliant. But they get these bits and pieces of food fear, and they run around like they know everything, and they preach everything to everybody, and they try to teach us that what we're doing is all wrong. And chief among them are the vegans and vegetarians.
All right, we're talking with Meathead Goldwyn. So relax about the cancer on the grill, for crying out loud. Give me a break. All right. We are going to come back with Meathead here in just a minute. First, let me tell you about Fred's Music and Barbecue. Tasty Licks BBQ Supply. TastyLicksBBQ.com is the website. Look, 2-day competition barbecue school, March 10th and 11th. It's this year, coming up in a mere number of weeks. So I'm sure spaces are filling up rapidly, so you're going to want to go ahead and first call Fred or email Fred to make sure that there's spaces available. Fred is presenting Todd Johns from the Pork Pullin' Plowboys, believe it or not. Todd, one of the most successful and winningest team captains on the competition barbecue circuit right now. One of the most sought-after instructors in the world. In the last few months, teams that took his class won both the American Royal, 500 teams plus, and the Jack Daniels International Invitational Tournament. These are the two most prestigious contests in the world that take place each and every year. Fred is now taking reservations, and people from all over the country already registering, flying in from all parts of the globe. If you ever thought that you would want to get into competition barbecue, or maybe you just want to step your backyard game up on the barbecue or the grill because they're two separate things, I don't care whoever says it. This class is a huge bargain. Now, due to economy and size of scale and demand for Todd's class, we're going to be able to, or Fred, not we, but Fred is going to be able to house this right at his location in beautiful, tropical Shillington, Pennsylvania. I mean, we all know it's going to be like 85 degrees and sunny March 10th and 11th in Shillington, Pennsylvania. Look, don't miss this opportunity if you've ever considered taking these kind of classes. Enough said. Register for the Todd Johns Pork Pullin' Plowboys Competition Barbecue School, again, March 10th and 11th. This year, 2012. TastyLicksBBQ.com. That's TastyLicksBBQ.com. Fred, of course, also a purveyor of a number of rubs and sauces, some of his own. But other sponsors of the show, Fred sells their products. He's got all types of grills, smokers, cookers, accoutrements, wood chunks and chips and cookbooks and injecting things. If you're specializing in pizza and you want a Forno Bravo oven, Fred has it, and he's got everything in stock. So feel confident when you're ordering from him. He's got the stuff ready to be shipped out, and he's going to do it at a fair price, and he's going to ship out expeditiously. Fred's Music and BBQ.com, TastyLicksBBQ.com. We're coming back with more Meathead right after this. Stick around.
Broadcasting live from the Barbecue Central Radio Network studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Radio Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, 15 past the hour, 877-448-0433. Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com, and we pick back up with Meathead. All right, Meathead, we talked about cancer and grilling and all that stuff, and eating in a restaurant or a home. Is it safer, or where is it safer? In your estimation, sharing a bed with somebody who is much smarter than both of us combined, what is the riskiest food out there right now? Is it hamburger because of the ground meat and the E. coli? What do you think?
Wedding cake?
Of course, wedding. You can get it slammed up your nose. You could suffocate. Absolutely.
I think that's really dangerous stuff there.
Yep.
It's again. This came from my wife, and we, that big outbreak in Germany that killed all those people. It's sprouts. It's bean sprouts. Tell that to all your vegetarian friends.
I will.
The risk for eating. Think about bean sprouts now. I don't know if you've ever grown them. I did back in my hippie days. You take these seeds. These are like mung bean seeds or alfalfa seeds. They're seeds, like grass seeds. And you put them in a cup of water for a day or so until they get swollen and soak up, and they're ready to sprout. And then you dump out the water and strain them, and you put them in a container, preferably in the dark so the sun doesn't hit them and turn them green, and they sprout. And the warmer the temperature, the faster and better they sprout. And you get these nice big crunchy things with the seed. You know what they look like? They look like big sperms.
Yep.
And you got the seeds on one end and the little tail sticking out on the other. They're really crunchy. Well, think about this for a minute. That is absolutely the perfect growing environment. It's warm. It's wet. It's humid.
What?
Well, that's just exactly the same conditions that the bugs like, that the microbes like. Far riskier, I would think, from the numbers I look at, than eating burger. Now, burger is an element of risk.
Let me interrupt you for a second. Let me explain it as the layman understands it. You're a little bit more in depth than me. Here's what I've always been told, and then you can interrupt and tell me where my misspeak is. So let's say I have a steak, and I let it sit out, and E. coli starts to form. So it's no big deal, because as soon as I let it hit the grill, whatever's on the surface is going to get burned off due to the heat of the grill. Where it becomes dangerous with hamburger is you're taking the E. coli that might be sitting on top of that meat, and now we're grinding it, and it's getting down into the middle, and you're making your patty, and if you're not cooking it to a proper temperature for a certain amount of time, that's where danger comes in. Is that true or false?
You got it.
All right.
You got it. Okay. What happens is you have these slaughterhouses, these factory killing facilities where the assembly line's got to keep moving, and you got guys with sharp knives, and they slit these animals open down the gut. And they have to be careful not to cut open the intestines. If they do, the intestines spill out fecal matter, and the intestines is where E. coli really likes to live. And that's it. I mean, E. coli is a fecal matter bug. That's the stuff that's always poisoning our lakes and stuff. And so if you're really careful in the slaughterhouse, there's not much chance of fecal matter poisoning. Now, it actually can get into the meat from the hide of the animal, because often these animals are kept on these large feedlots. And they poop, and they walk in the poop, and the sun comes out, it dries, and it turns into a dust, and there's these big clouds of dust, and it's full of E. coli, and it gets on their hides. So you just have to be careful in the slaughterhouse, and it's almost impossible to prevent fecal matter from contaminating meat in a slaughterhouse. But it's on the surface, just like you said. So you throw it on the grill, and it's dead instantly. 165 degrees for 2 seconds. Well, hell, I cook steaks at 600, 700. They're instantly killed. I mean, and the stuff doesn't get down into the muscles easily. So they say if you cook meat up to 145, well, that's medium. That's almost gray. I don't want mine that far done. Medium rare is better for me at 130 to 135, but it's pretty darn safe at that temp. One of the things that they don't tell you is killing microbes is a factor of both time and temp. So you can kill all the microbes in a turkey, say, if you bring the meat up to 165 degrees for 2 seconds. But you can also kill all those microbes if you bring it up to 160 degrees, I think it is, for 2 minutes. And as you lower the temp, you have to hold it at that temperature longer. Mm-hmm. We've talked before about sous vide cooking. This Correct. Is the method where French chefs will take, say, a steak, and they'll put it in a plastic Ziploc bag and suck all the air out of it, and then put it in a 130-degree water bath. And at 130 degrees, it takes 2 hours to pasteurize the meat. That is to say, kill all the pathogens so that it's safe to eat. You can't just put it in there and then take it out and eat it, because there's a risk. You haven't put the hot surface on it. But it will be safe after 2 or 3 hours. So it takes time to kill off that population of microbes. And so there, it's a lot more complicated than we might think. The burger situation is really interesting. The first question I would ask anybody who asks, well, I like my burgers medium rare, is why? Now, I know why you want your steak medium rare, because steak, which is solid muscle meat, is most tender and most juicy in that 130 to 135 degree range. But burgers are pre-chewed. They have been ground up by a machine. Somebody has already chewed them for you. So tender, when's the last time you had a chewy burger?
Never.
Yeah, they're already ground up. They're not. So tenderness is not an issue. Juiciness is usually not an issue because they're 20% fat or more. So they're really juicy. So, the concern over cooking a burger to 155, 160, where it is really safe, may be a little misplaced. It's nice to see the pink in the center, but I think if you make your burgers properly, you can cook them up to that 155, 160 temperature and still get a darn good burger, even though it's not pink in the center. But all that said, if you absolutely have to have a perfectly safe burger and you have to have it pink, there are some ways to get there. You can buy irradiated burgers. Now, I know a lot of people freak out. Oh, my God, radiation. But the irradiation that they use on meat, as near as I can tell, now, maybe there's more research coming. But again, I've looked at research. I've really tried to figure this out. It doesn't seem to really hurt the food, and it's not likely to hurt you. There's no radiation left. It's a different kind of radiation. Omaha Steaks sells irradiated burgers. That means if you buy burgers from Omaha Steaks, you can serve them rare. Or you could sous vide your burgers. Get a $400 sous vide machine, put your burgers in a bag, put them in the water bath at 130 for a couple hours, pull them out, and they're pink bumper to bumper. And if you want to sear them to get that good brown flavor, you throw them on a grill or in a hot frying pan, and you got damn good burgers that are red throughout if you want to do that. Mm-hmm. Or use really good perfect control. Get a grill or a system where you can get that temperature to, say, 130 degrees and hold it there for actually about 40 minutes is, I think, what it takes. If you're using a grill, about 40 minutes for 135 degrees, and hold it there, and you kill all the bugs, and you can have. And the other option is there is a way to sterilize your meat. Get your chuck steak and dunk it in boiling hot water for about 10 seconds. Then pull it out and grind it yourself. You have sterilized the surface, killed all the bugs, and now you have safe meat.
Meathead Goldwyn joining us here on the show. AmazingRibs.com is his website. Meathead, I'm kind of going back a little bit when we were talking about poop dust and all of this stuff, big feedlots. Has that really...
Poop dust. I think you've coined a new word.
Poop dust. I love coining new phrases right here on the show. Has that kind of spawned, or because it's gotten out on how these animals are kind of cattled in, pardon the pun, this move afoot of artisan beef, of big free ranging, and the slaughter is a little bit more humane? Everybody's not living on top of each other, so everything's going to be tasting better and it's supposed to be healthier. Or does one not have to do anything with the other?
Well, there is a relationship, I think. I mean, it's not a perfect linear relationship, but I think that free-ranged or grass-fed cattle that are not all crammed into... I mean, if you've ever seen pictures of these food lots or seen a food lot up close and personal, there's not a blade of grass anywhere. It is just all dirt. It is just all sand, and then it's covered with a pretty thick layer of fecal matter. Now they scoop some of it up and drag it off, but it's in the air. It smells. It's everywhere. It gets down in your lungs. It's just a different environment. Those feedlots are, full of fecal matter in the air and on the ground. there are a couple of other aspects about artisanal handling that are useful. They're not foolproof. Knowing your butcher is not a guarantee of safe food. As you pointed out, the microbial problems get on the surface. And once you start grinding it, it goes down into the center of the meat, and that's where the problem is. You can know your butcher, and he can get in fresh meat, but if there's contamination on the surface, he doesn't control that. It happens at the slaughterhouse. And he can have the cleanest, the safest equipment and machinery in the place. It's still going to drive microbial contamination down into the meat and be potentially hazardous. Now, if he doesn't clean his equipment every day, if he doesn't take care of it carefully, then the risk grows even greater. Solid muscle meats are not a major problem. Ground meats, sausages are a greater problem because you distribute the surface throughout. And I think the safest thing there is just to cook it through, get it up to 155, and you don't have to worry about a damn thing.
All right, let's talk about wieners a little bit here, Meathead. We did a whole thing about regional wieners months ago. So what about the preservatives in hot dogs? You touched on it a little bit ago. Nitrates, nitrites, cancer, all this other stuff.
Yeah, well, I think that dovetails into what we were talking about before. You know, everybody calls them death dogs and stuff, and that's from this nitrates and nitrites. And
hey, Meathead, let me ask you a question. You know what hot dogs are made out of, don't you?
No, tell me, what are hot dogs made out of?
Lips and assholes. Heard that from a movie once.
Let's hope they washed those assholes.
That's right.
But that stuff, the curings. Anybody who's done curing, I'm having a fun experiment going on in my basement refrigerator right now. I have a Strub Ranch Wagyu brisket that I cut into 3 parts. The point and then the flat, and I cut the flat into 2 parts. Each of them stripped bare of fat, and down to about 2.25 pounds of beautiful raw meat floating in pickling spices and salt and what they call Prague powder, which is a preservative, salt. I guess it's got nitrites. I can never remember the difference. And that's the stuff that turns it pink. You don't have to use that stuff. You can leave it out. And when you're done, you end up with corned beef that is great. Nobody wants to eat a hot dog or corned beef that's gray. For some reason or other, we are trained with the idea that they should be pink.
Correct.
And this stuff turns it pink. Now, it was an essential preservative, but with modern refrigeration, it may not be that essential. But I use it anyhow. And I think that the research that I've read, that I've seen, I've got an article that links to the research on my website. I also have articles on my website about a lot of the other things we've talked about on food safety. On this cancer stuff, I've linked to the original research on my website. I think that the evidence is that it's not that dangerous. And in fact, it's not dangerous at all. I think this was an early research project that somebody reported that got blown up by the media, and then the subsequent research has not been adequately reported.
Meathead, are there any considerations or cautions that you need to take into account when you are aging a brisket?
Aging a brisket?
You know, you hear wet aging, you hear dry aging.
Yeah. When you get meats in these cryovacs, they're supposed to be evacuated of oxygen, and they're supposed to be a much longer aging. And that's been my experience. I mean, I just actually, this True Branch brisket I've had for some time. When I lifted it out of the fridge after thawing it, it started dripping, which told me right away that it had been punctured. So it wasn't perfectly tight. I think if you are going to age in cryovac, now I'm not as knowledgeable about this as some of the other guys that you've had on. I remember the brisket panel you had. The guys really knew their stuff, and we're talking about that. I think they say that the wet aging of brisket, somewhere in the range of 3 to 4 weeks, really improves flavor and tenderness. And that makes a lot of sense to me, so I follow that guidance. Dry aging beef is another issue. There are techniques for doing it at home, but if you're not careful, you can ruin some pretty good meat. It's a matter of temperature and humidity control. And there are some techniques. Alton Brown, notably, on the Food Network, demonstrated a technique. And I know people, Dr. Blonder, my consulting physicist, uses a technique similarly. I hope to be writing about it in the near future. But you can dry age. It is more of an enzymatic reaction. It's where enzymes now are starting to break down the muscle tissues and make them more tender. And there's very little microbial danger in this process. The key here is temperature control. One thing you guys all ought to do is, you've heard me preach, if you've listened to me before, about the omnipotence of digital thermometers. But actually, liquid thermometers are really accurate. They're just slow, and you don't want to stick a liquid thermometer in your meat very easily. But they're great in refrigerators and freezers. And you can buy a cheap liquid thermometer and stick it in your refrigerator, and you want to keep it between 32 and 40. A microbiologist I was talking to once says, you know what I call a refrigerator over 40 degrees?
No, what?
I said, an incubator. So make sure you keep your fridge between 32 and 40, and that's going to inhibit microbial growth pretty handily.
We are talking with Meathead Goldwyn, and now he's told you what temperature to keep your refrigerators at. All right, we'll step away here just for 3 minutes here. And, oh, come on, give me a break. Here we go. We'll come back. I got at least 3-4 other questions that I need to talk to Meathead about. Meathead Goldwyn, AmazingRibs.com. But first, let me tell you about Draper's BBQ. They are a third-generation barbecue company located in western Kentucky in between Memphis and Kansas City. Shane Draper wanted to create a line of products that represented both cities as well as the flavor profile from his home. Draper's Smokin' Sauce is a savory with a touch of sweetness, tangy with some heat. It's balanced yet complex blend of spices. It's just at home on the competition trail as it is grilling in your backyard. Smokin' Sauce has brought home numerous trophies on ribs and chicken and is on the forefront on the battle lines against overly sweet flavor profiles, which I certainly don't like. Now, Draper's BBQ has a fantastically versatile rub as well, known simply as AP Rub. The AP is short for all-purpose, as it is a great flavor enhancer on any protein. But it can be used on popcorn or French fries, salad, onion rings, soups, chowders, Chex Mix, baked potatoes, dredges for frying fish and chicken. Really, your imagination is its only limitation. AP's rub balance of savory, sweet, salty, and heat make it a great addition on virtually anything. So look, Smokin' Sauce and AP Rub are great products when they're used on their own. Of course they are. But look, they really shine when they're used together. And Scott Roberts bared out as much last year on the 2011 Best of Rubs and Sauces. This dovetail of two flavor profiles make a completely different and even more complex profile that will keep the judges thinking about your entry long after they have put it down. It'll even make your neighbors think they want to come back for third chicken thighs and 5 chicken thighs, whatever the case may be. The mix of the two has a designed roller coaster effect on the palate that swings the taster through all parts of their taste buds. You can find Draper's products at drapersbbq.com. You can also find them at the makers of the Bacon Explosion, bbqaddicts.com, or barbecueproshop.com, which can be found at BBQ Pro Shop. All trusted Draper's resources. Also, look for Shane on Twitter and Facebook. Shane always available for questions and to help competitors with flavor profiles. If you have a local store that you would like to see Draper's products in, send Shane an email at info@drapersbbq.com. Shane always adding stores, and they would like to add your new market too. Plus, your tip could lead you to earning some free swag as well. Draper's Barbecue, when they say 3 generations of pride and flavor in a bottle, they mean it. It's drapersbbq.com. Proud sponsor of the show. We'll be back with more Meathead in just a second.
Big name interviews, advice on cooking brisket and ribs, and the only host willing to share his honest opinion on all things important in the world of barbecue. It's the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, coming up on 20 minutes till the top of the hour, we're talking with Meathead Goldwyn from AmazingRibs.com. All right, Meathead, let me ask you about this. I had made a mention of this particular chicken question months ago because, quite honestly, I was shocked, appalled by the fact that people out there on the competition trail were just leaving their chicken thighs out for like up to 2 hours, and I almost shit my pants a little bit because I was like, you got to be kidding me. Chicken, inherently one of the most like icky things to cook, I guess is a terribly unprofessional way to put it. What about leaving chicken out at room temperature? Is there a time frame you want to stand in by? Are these guys leaving it out for 2 hours, absolutely throwing all caution to the wind? What do you think?
Well, all right. We often hear people say about taking a beef roast, and letting it sit and come to room temp. And that's not too terribly risky because E. coli doesn't get too far below the surface, and you're going to kill it in the high heat. But chicken is a different creature altogether. Chicken is dunked in water in the process of removing feathers and cleaning the cavity. And that process, the water is supposed to be clean, it's supposed to be sterilized, but salmonella is a common problem in avian creatures, and it can get contaminated if they don't stay on top of it. There's a lot of low-paid immigrant-type workers in these factories, and whether they're on top of it or not is not exactly pristine. What happens is, and also chicken and turkey are more porous than steak. So the salmonella can get down into the muscle if you're not careful. You really need to follow FDA guide. I have a cooking temperature chart on my website. You can print it out. It's a PDF. And Brad Barrett over at Grill Grates has borrowed it from me at no charge. I gave it to him, and he's printing out little magnetic charts, which you can buy from him or on Amazon.com. They have all the USDA recommended temperatures and chef recommended temperatures. And whereas chefs don't always agree with the USDA, when it comes to chicken and ground meat, turkey, poultry and ground meat, those are two areas where you don't want to argue with the USDA numbers. You may recall that when it comes to pork, USDA just a few months ago changed its number from, I think they were at 160, 165 for pork. They dropped it to 145. Hallelujah. I mean, I've never cooked pork over 145. That's just a recipe for cardboard. In 2006, they changed their recommendations for poultry. If your cookbooks for cooking a turkey are older than 2006, they're telling you to cook it to 180 or something awful like that. The USDA is listening. The USDA is trying to protect us. They're being careful about not making it too complicated for most of us. But when it comes to poultry and ground meats, you really need to stick close to their numbers. I think for things like steak, their number of 145, that's just overcooked to me and to most chefs. And I think that the risk of, no steakhouse will cook a steak at 145 unless you argue with the chef, and you just don't hear about steakhouses being sued and run out of business for food poisoning issues. It's probably pretty darn safe to cook it at 130 to 135.
Meathead Goldwyn joining us here on the show. All right, here's a completely different topic, and I've often wondered about this. I think I've heard it bannered about from time to time. I've really never paid any attention to it, but now that I have my undivided attention to give to you, Meathead, tell us a little bit about sell-by dates, best if used by, and all of these debates. Because, I go into the refrigerator, and the milk has a date on it, and according to my wife, once it hits that date, it gets poured down the drain, and it doesn't matter. I've talked to other people who say that milk is good for 5 days. So where does it go?
These are not safety numbers. These are freshness numbers. There are microbes that make you sick, and there are also microbes that destroy the quality of the product. The sell-by date is the date that the grocer must sell it by.
Or what?
Now or what exactly? Well, if somebody wanders in and catches them violating that, they can be fined. There have been plenty of cases found of grocers going out, taking meat that's past the sell-by date back into the back room and putting a new label on it.
Correct.
Hopefully that doesn't happen too often. But it's not necessarily a risk if it's kept at the right temperature. But that's what the government feels like is the is the safety date. And I wouldn't buy anything past the sell-by date, that's for sure. It's probably starting to spoil. It's probably starting to get funky. Rule number one in food safety is when in doubt, throw it out. If you're not sure how long you can keep this meat in the fridge and it's been there 2 weeks and you're not sure, throw it out. You're not sure about the color, throw it out. If you're not sure about the smell, throw it out. Just don't take a chance. These microbes can kill you. And young people and old farts like me are most susceptible. And there's a rogues gallery, a cast of characters of like 31 pathogens they've identified. Most common are 7 pathogens. Salmonella, which is really common, and treat meat like kryptonite, as if it's poisonous. Handle it with care. Handle it. Wash up after it. USDA makes a really good recommendation, and I know a lot of competitors listen to this radio show. Of
course.
It's a great concept. Get household bleach. My wife always tells me, bleach is your friend. Get yourself an empty spray bottle, get some bleach, make a dilute solution of bleach. USDA recommends taking 1 tablespoon of 5% unscented liquid chlorine bleach and adding it to a gallon. Well, 5% unscented liquid chlorine bleach is your basic laundry Clorox bleach, and add it to a gallon of water. 1 tablespoon per gallon. Stir it up, pour it into a spray bottle, and when you're done chopping and cutting and slicing and dicing, use your spray bottle and flood that surface with your chlorine bleach. Rinse it with clear water and pat it dry. And you haven't sterilized it. This is important. The difference between pasteurizing and sterilizing. A lot of people think pasteurizing is just what they do to milk, heating it and making it pasteurized. But it's a term that they use for killing practically everything in sight. Sterilizing is killing everything in sight. To sterilize, you really need a serious combo of heat and chemicals and pressure or filtration, irradiation, all kinds of stuff. But you can pasteurize, which means it's really, really, really safe, just with a light bleach solution, by washing in a dishwasher, by handling things carefully. So understand the difference between clean, pasteurized, and sterilized. And whenever meat's involved, get it to the pasteurized level, treat it like it's poison, or kryptonite. And just don't take a risk, especially if Granny's coming over or I'm coming over because I'm an old fart, or if you got kids in the house. I know you like your hamburgers rare. Just don't serve them to your kids. They don't know any better. What? Granny's got no teeth anyhow. Just don't take a chance. It's just not worth it.
All right, last question of the night, Meathead. Thawing meat. A lot of people, maybe we forget we're going to make a dinner and it's still in the freezer. So what's the best way to rapidly thaw? What's the proper way to thaw just in general so we're not putting ourselves in any type of danger?
Oh, okay. I just got to jump back. I just remembered I got to rambling, and God knows I never ramble on your show.
Never.
I didn't answer all your questions. We talked about sell by date. We didn't talk about use by date. Use by date sell by date is the butcher's guide or the grocer's guide. He's got to sell it by that date or take it off the shelf. The use by date is your guide. That tells you that if you don't use it by this date, there's a good chance that it is going to be sour or possibly dangerous. But those are not necessarily safety issues. Now, what was this last question again?
Thawing meat properly.
Thawing and defrosting. Don't ever defrost or thaw just by leaving meat on the countertop.
Not even for a little while?
Air is an insulator. If you want to defrost, you want to remove that heat as quickly as possible. The best way, I think, is the cold water bath. And that is toss it in the sink with cold water and some ice cubes, which will keep it down under 40 degrees. And water is an excellent conductor of heat or cold, and it will pull the cold out of the meat or add heat to the meat so that it defrosts rapidly. And just change that water every 30 minutes or so, or stir in more ice, and you'll defrost rather rapidly. You can do it in the sink. You can do it in a styrofoam cooler. You can defrost perfectly safely in the refrigerator, especially if your refrigerator is under 40 degrees. It's just that a turkey will take you 4 or 5 days. General rule of thumb for Thanksgiving or for when you're doing a turkey is a week before Thanksgiving, pull the turkey out of the freezer and put it in the refrigerator. It'll take that long to defrost. Wow. And then reach down in there in the cavity a few days ahead of time and pull out all the giblets and stuff because they're still full of ice crystals, and get them out of there a day or so before so it finishes defrosting. I'd say 80% of the questions I get on my website about what went wrong with my turkey is it wasn't thawed properly. There is a way to hot water bath defrost. There's a really interesting research paper. I'm not going to get into it now because it's complicated. I discuss it in my article on defrosting and thawing on my website. And Dr. Blonder, my physicist consultant, has written me recently about a method where he puts meat between 2 layers of aluminum, which is a great conductor, and it removes heat quickly. And I want to study that more and ask him some more questions, and I'll be adding that to my article on defrosting and thawing in the near future.
All right, Meathead, last question before I let you go. The NFL season is almost over. We have only 4 teams left. But let's not talk about who's remaining. In your opinion, in a 5-second summary of yes or no and in a brief dissertation, Tim Tebow overrated or exactly where he should be?
I don't want to touch the Tebow issue because I'm biased. I'm a Gator. I'm a Gator, and I'm not a very religious guy, and this issue is too hot an issue. You want to talk about the 4 teams remaining? Let's both of us discuss the town with the best food. Boston,
New York,
Baltimore, San Francisco,
New York.
or New York?
New York.
New York?
Absolutely. Can't beat it.
I think one could make a case for San Francisco, couldn't one?
New York has by far the best cross-cut of everything out there, and you have hot stars, and you have overall the ambiance and everything. I mean, definitely San Francisco is a nice place to be, but I think
it's not
New York
Baltimore.
has that.
We know that,
yes.
isn't it?
No, well, not unless you want HIV.
You have to give praise where it's due. I mean, crab cakes and
pit beef.
What is They have a system of doing a brisket type dish. I forget what it's called over there. Well, I've never tasted it. Here, it's really good.
They have pit beef is known very well. Yeah, it's absolutely
pit beef.
But you're using a top round or London broil to make that sandwich. It's absolutely fabulous.
And of course, Boston is known for gaseous foods,
chowder,
beans,
and
chowder. And San Francisco. Now, I mean, my God, you're talking seafood, Chapino, all that wine. Greg, I know you're a wine drinker. Don't forget, I'm holding a bottle for you.
Believe me, I know.
Yeah, you're right. New York.
All right. So we agree to agree at the end, which is something that I always appreciate. You can find Meathead at AmazingRibs.com. It's the most heavily trafficked website when it comes to barbecue and grilling. If you have any questions, easy to contact. Meathead, always appreciate the time. We'll look for you again next month.
Greg, I enjoy talking to you. Thanks for having me.
You got it. There he is. It's Meathead. AmazingRibs.com, again, is the website. So make sure you check him out. Always appreciate the time that Meathead makes for the show. We're going to come back and wrap up here in just a second. Quick reminder about Barbecuer's Delight wood pellets. Folks, if you have, number one, a cooker like an FEC or Traeger or a Mac or Louisiana Grills or Green Mountain Grill or a Grilla grill, you're going to need wood pellets to keep those fired. That's why they're called wood pellet cookers, right? Absolutely. Go to the source that many people widely consider, as well as the host, to be the premium wood fuel pellet to put in your wood-fired cooker when it comes to wood pellets. Barbecuer's Delight, BBQRS, BBQRSDelight.com, barbecuersdelight.com. Huge amount of flavor to choose from. Yes, you have your typical barbecue-style wood flavors. You have hickory, you have oak, you have mesquite, and then you have apple, and then you have cherry. Then you have like sassafras, or you have a savory herb, you have sassafras. I think Candy flipped her gourd when she told me that she has charcoal pellets. It seemed to go completely against the complete description of why you get a wood-fired cooker, a wood pellet-fired cooker. So you can have wood pellets that always get that wood smoke. But these charcoal pellets are compressed, and they look just like a wood pellet, but they're burning at a higher BTU. So, as Candy said when she was on a couple weeks ago, you're able to actually use less to generate more heat. So instead of using 10 pounds of wood pellets, you might have to use 6 or 7 pounds of charcoal pellets. So you're getting kind of a savings and a BTU burn because it's just going to burn a little bit hotter. Candy's wood pellets put an amazing light wood smoke on anything you're going to be doing. If you don't have a wood pellet fired cooker, don't worry about it. If you have a grill, if you have a Weber Smoky Mountain, she has these little cast iron pots that you can fill up with any style of wood pellet that she makes. Put it in your particular cooker, and then just after a few minutes, the thing's going to get hot enough, and there you go. You're going to get that great wood smoke. Hugely efficient. They burn down to almost nothing. Very easy cleanup. Go to BBQRS Delight. That's BBQRSDelight.com. You can peruse her full inventory of flavors. She has sample packs as well. Stay tuned, of course. Candy always willing to do giveaways on the show. And if that's going to get you to push you over the edge, we'll get some of those going just as soon as humanly possible. It's Candy Weaver, one of the owners of Barbecuer's Delight. BBQRSDelight.com. That's BBQRSDelight.com, a proud sponsor of the show. We'll be back to wrap everything up here in just 10 seconds. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Get in the smoke. Call 877-448-0433 to get on the air. Now, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, we're back 5 minutes till the top of the hour, 55 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. Special thanks, as always, to Meathead for bringing it. Let me review. We covered foodborne illness. Is it dangerous to eat in a restaurant or in your home? Or which one's more dangerous, I should say? Does grilling cause cancer? What is the riskiest food to eat? A lot of people think it's hamburger, but it's actually Sprouts. Is hamburger inherently risky? Can you make medium rare hamburgers? What about preservatives and hot dogs as they relate to cancer? Sell by date versus use by date. Temperature you should have your fridge at. A veritable cornucopia of topics that we were able to talk to Meathead about tonight. And always appreciate the fact that, look, Meathead does a lot of prep. He does the most heavily trafficked website when it comes to barbecue and grilling. So he's always putting up great content on there because he's got a lot of people coming in. If you have a website like Meathead has, got to have fresh content. You got to keep drawing people back, and he's absolutely up to the task, and he does it each and every day, each and every week. And then, of course, he comes on to this show once a month, and we talk about a whole bunch of different things as well. So the fact that he does his prep work and is able to talk coherently on a number of different subjects during the course of our time together, which was almost a full hour, I certainly appreciate. And that's why I like having him on every month. I get rave reviews after every show that Meathead is on once a week. I'll get 30, 40, 50 emails tomorrow, and then they kind of wean down. But as people get it in podcasts, they feel compelled to write in and disagree with him here or disagree with me. For me, disagreeing with Meathead, whatever the case may be. So always one of the greatest guests that we have on a recurring basis. Also, thanks to Moe Cason from Ponderosa BBQ for coming on in the first hour. PonderosaBBQ.com is his website, so you want to go ahead and check him out over there as well. He's going to be hitting the circuit. Watch out. I don't know if you could tell from the interview or not, but Mo was feeling it. I think he's thinking he's got a 2012 Team of the Year run in him, and I'm not here to doubt anybody. So watch out for him. All right, here we go. Moe Cason, hour number one, PonderosaBBQ.com. Meathead Goldwyn. And AmazingRibs.com is his website. Raymond Cato in looking for free stuff. Raymond, that never happens with you. Show already booked out for next week, so look forward to that. Of course, I want to help you to control the rusty grill grate population. If you're one of those people that has raw cast iron on one of your cookers right now, make sure you're taking care of it after each and every use. Here's what I do. I cook on it, take the heat off. As it starts to cool down, I get my PAM, spray it down, or maybe if I'm really feeling froggy, I get a little Crisco out, press it into those cast iron grates so I can make sure that I'm re-seasoning each and every time. Once rust forms on those cast iron, forget about it. It is like cancer. It will grow and it will just overtake that. You got to throw it out. You got to start all over. You don't want it. Prepare, and then re-season. It takes 5 seconds. You'll get years of trouble-free service. Coming up next week, Ed Hamlin from the Grill Plate. We also have Malcolm Reed from Killer Hogs, and Scott Nelson from Swine Assassins is going to be talking about his 2011 run as well, finishing second place Team of the Year at Kansas City Barbecue Society. Last and certainly not least, September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until we see you again at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next Tuesday, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.